So
That's what
I've got 6:31. Call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda that may be amended.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Anybody have anything they want to change on?
I'd just like to make a short statement at the beginning of the meeting.
But does anybody have anything to change, other than Bill making a statement after we approve the agenda?
No, the one thing I would like to mention is based on feedback from the public, if when people have comments, if they could come to a microphone and sit at a microphone and speak so that folks in the audience who are here attending Zoom can actually see who it is who's speaking and hear what their words are. So it's something that's been asked by multiple people, so if we could just do that instead of going around the room like we normally do, I think that would be good for all members of the public.
That being said, I'd like to get them, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Bill?
Yeah, I'd just like to give my, a brief statement and a note of thanks to the Killington Fire and Rescue Services. People may have noticed I've been missing for the last couple of weeks. Well, on Monday morning, July 27th, I suffered a heart attack. And my partner, Mary, immediately called 911. Members of the Killington Fire and Rescue Service were quickly dispatched, followed by an ambulance from the Rutland Regional Ambulance Service. After an emergency visit to Rutland Regional Medical Center, I was transferred to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center in Hanover, where I underwent catheter cardiac surgery. My deepest thanks go to John Mowry and Rob Flanders. They were the first responders from Killington Fire and Rescue, as well as Mark Foote, who arrived at my home shortly after John and Rob. Their quick professional response during those critical early moments of my health crisis probably saved my life, according to my cardiologist. To John, Rob, and Mark, thank you for saving my life and for your dedication to serving the Killington community through the Killington Fire and Rescue Service. I am forever grateful.
Can I get a motion to approve of the minutes of July 20th, 2026?
So moved.
Anything on it? I have nothing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of July 27th, 2026?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second?
Anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I just want to say, Bill, while you were away, there was that one meeting that you sent me a list, that's Sunday.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we'll get updated too.
Okay.
All right, and so since you folks have approved the agenda that may be amended, the next item up is an ethics investigation finding. I'm going to sit away from the desk, but John, I'm going to ask you to come over here, because if you see anybody coming that says in the lobby, you're going to have to hit to allow them to come in. And I'm going to tell you that while we are here, Andy Montrell online is my attorney, in case anybody wants to know who that is. Okay?
Jim, do you want your phone, Frank?
I don't need my phone. I have them both volumes off.
Okay, folks, so we're in a slightly uncharted territory because we've never had to address findings from an ethics investigation here in the town of Killington. So we've been going through the process of reviewing the report. I think a lot of people in the public have probably had the opportunity to read the report. Basically, I guess if you all want, I could go through and read the entirety of the report. I could go through and read the entirety of Mr. Half's attorney Montrell's response if you want. Those will become lengthy, in discussion, and I certainly don't mind doing that if that's what people would prefer. And then we also have a lengthy notification and memorandum from our town attorney, Kevin Brown, on the subject. So it can be a extremely long-winded conversation or not. It depends, I guess, how we want to go about it. Primarily, the discussion focused on a few nuances of query on the ethics investigation, which were in the report, the special investigator, private investigator, whatever we want to use for a term, had found that there was no wrongdoing, and that there was no issues there. She, later in the report, gets into some issues as it relates to potential conflicts of interest discussion and that space. So the challenge becomes, as we get into that discussion, is that the town of Killington had passed an ordinance related to the bear with me here.
Is that a correct statement, John?
Well, it's an incomplete statement yet. So the town of.
The select board had
The
passed.
select board
Questionable.
had passed an ordinance related to code of ethics. However, there was a failure to complete the process of executing the ordinance, which requires notification to the public. In that notification to the public has an opportunity to be able to dispute the ordinance and force it to a vote with, I think, 5% of signatures from those citizens in town. So the process would be, the ordinance is heard here at the select board table, it's voted upon, it's passed, it then has to be noticed publicly and given the opportunity for the public to be able to vote on to either contest the ordinance
Or ratify it.
or ratify it. So the town failed to follow the prescribed legal process for executing this, which in essence puts the town in a position where even if there was, and there wasn't, any issues as it relates to conflict of interest, we wouldn't even be able to take action on it. I want to be clear that as a board, we could have had all of this discussion behind closed doors and excluded the public from the conversation. Under the circumstance with where we are as a community, it didn't make a lot of sense to try to do something like that. And, there's really no teeth because the town didn't follow its prudence. And also, there really is no teeth because there is no there there. There are some nuances. However, in terms of law and explanation, the investigator Jonas had excluded very key and important parts of the statute and the law and provided an incomplete definition, and as a result, the portion that was excluded in her report would be the clarifying factor, one of the key words being particular in this situation. So we can't apply a law, one, or an ordinance that hasn't been passed. Two, if you go back and you look at the timelines as referenced in the report, the applicability of the state or the local ordinances is not in place. So you really can't apply it that way. And then three, if you use the entirety of the law, statute, it doesn't meet, the actions do not meet the criteria for enforceability or for there being anything done wrong. So there really isn't any action to be taken on the board's behalf, and there really is nothing, even if there were to be some action, some inappropriate activities, the board still wouldn't have any ability to act upon them. In this particular case, the rule just simply wasn't applied properly to the 3 dates that were mentioned in the back of the report. So I will open it for discussion amongst the board and, see if I can get any input from other board members.
Yeah, I think as the only board member present, other than Jim, who was sitting on the board in June of 2025. Okay, I know Dave Atherton, the town manager, brought that proposal to the board, okay, because Vermont was recodifying all of their ethics legislation, okay, and basically part of that required towns to adopt something, okay. I can say I never remember in any of that conversations, but I also have not reviewed the minutes, okay, obviously, okay, but I never remember in that conversation that it needed to be put forward to a town vote. I'm not disputing that, by the way, John.
No, it didn't
Okay.
need to be put forward to a vote, Bill, just for clarification.
Okay.
What needed to happen was there needed to be public notice to create the opportunity
Yeah.
for someone to then be able to either, want to,
Object to it?
Yeah.
thank you, Vito, to
Yeah.
object to, the ordinance with the proper amount of votes, 5%, I think it is.
Right.
And then bring it, and then it goes to vote as.
No, I'm not disputing that that should have been done, okay, and obviously, it's good that we have now been notified that that should have been done. It was never brought, as far as I know, to the board's attention that that needed to be done at the time. And at some point in the near future, we're going to have to take up a motion to review the ethics policy and actually put it in place to comply with state regulations using the prescribed process.
I agree. We'll need to go back and look at it.
Yeah.
This comes down to policies, process, and procedure. If you do not follow procedures, you can't then act on things, even if they were to be. Again, in this case, it was a stretch at best from my readings of the report. It was a gravitation away from the scope of the complaints that were lodged by the 2 members of the public, and therefore, there's really no there. And again, I will make our town attorney's document, which I think was 9 pages, available to anybody who would like to review it, if they would like to better understand all the legalities of it. And again, if someone really wants to, I will read it, but
I would like you to read it.
would like me to read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, bear with me. Now I gotta get my laptop. Yeah, can you hand me my laptop?
I'd also like a copy of it.
You want to plug this in?
I should be good, because I'm not running up here, Vito.
And since I'm on this side, my name is Jim Half, citizen.
It's important to affirm that, Mr. Howe. Okay. So this is from Lang Roxbury and Wool, Attorney Kevin Brown, Town of Killington's attorney, addressed to myself, John Wysocki, regarding the review of ethics investigation report of Ingrid Jones, dated June 29th, 2026. Okay. So there's going to be a bunch of little legal references in here with a bunch of little marks that I don't actually know exactly what they, the little special legal marks refer to, statute, things like that. So I may skip one little thing here or there, but it won't be verbiage, it will be symbols. Dear John, at the Select Board's request, I have reviewed the ethics investigation report prepared by Ingrid Jonas dated June 29th, 2026, EIR. Regarding the ethics complaint filed by Andrew Gata dated March 12, 2026, and the ethics complaint filed by Don Martin dated April 28, 2026. Both complaints concern Jim Happ in his capacity as a member of the Killington Select Board. I've also reviewed the July 30th, 2026 letter to the Select Board of Andrew Montrol, counsel for Jim Happ, concerning Ms. Jonas's EIR. You will notice substantial overlap between my opinion set forth below regarding the serious errors made by Ms. Jones in the EIR report and the criticisms of the EIR report raised by Attorney Montrol in his letter. I want to make clear at the outset that I conducted the necessary legal research, reviewed and analyzed the EIR, and reached the conclusion set forth in this letter before I received and read a copy of Attorney Montrol's letter of July 30th, 2026. Ms. Jonas concluded in her EIR that Jim Half failed on 3 occasions to disclose an actual or perceived conflict of interest and recuse himself or submit a written statement which explained why he had good cause to continue to participate in the matter before the Select Board. Specifically, Ms. Jonas concluded that Jim Half failed to make the requisite conflicts of interest disclosures during the Select Board meetings on December 23rd, 2024, and February 10th, 2025, and August 25th, 2025. On each of these dates, Ms. Jonas concluded that Mr. Half should have made the requisite disclosures and statements concerning his continued participation because of the matter before the Select Board in some way involved his wife, Mary Ellen Keenan Half, who served as the finance director for the town of Killington from October 23 through June of 2025. For reasons I will explain below, Ms. Jonas made significant legal errors and omissions regarding the applicable law and town policy. These errors and omissions resulted in her application of incorrect legal standards regarding what constitutes a conflict of interest. Ms. Jonas's failure to identify and apply the correct legal standard renders her analysis and conclusions regarding the 3 Select Board meetings fundamentally flawed and legally incorrect. Application of the correct legal conflict of interest standards leads to the conclusion that in none of the 3 Select Board meetings did a conflict of interest arise which required that Mr. Half recuse himself or to issue a written statement to explain why he had good cause to continue to participate. It will be helpful for me to give you a bit of legal background regarding the Vermont law of municipal ethics, which is rather new and has yet to become fully operational. Public Act 171. Vermont has had a state ethics commission at the SEC since 2017. The SEC had no role or authority with respect to municipalities, towns, cities, and villages until the enactment of Public Act 171 in 2024. Even after the enactment of Public Act 171, the SEC's role with respect to towns is quite limited. The effective date of Public Act 171 varies depending on the particular statutory provision at issue. The majority of Public Act 171's provisions concern public servants in state government and power and duties of the SEC. Public Act 171 provides the SEC with power to conduct investigations of a public servant for alleged unethical conduct, hearings to gather evidence and testimony if warranted, 3 VSA 1227A and 1228A. Public Act 171 also provides the SEC with the power to issue warnings, reprimands, and recommended actions, 3 VSA 1229. Lastly, Public Act 172 directs the SEC to adopt, Public Act 172 directs the SEC to adopt rules regarding the procedural and evidentiary aspects of the Commission's investigations and hearings, 3 VSA 1230. Notably, the powers given to the SEC in 3 VSA 1229 and 1230 do not take effect until September 1, 2027. For purposes of this review of the EIR, it is important to note that public servant is defined as an individual elected or appointed to serve as a state officer, an individual elected or appointed to serve as a member of the General Assembly, a state employee, or an individual appointed to serve on a state board or commission, or an individual who is in other way is authorized to act or speak on behalf of the state, 3 VSA 1201:15. Mr. Half therefore does not qualify as a public servant where the term is used in Public Act 171. Consequently, these aspects of Public Act 171 cited above regarding the SEC have no bearing on the ethics complaints made against Mr. Half. Public Act 171, however, did have some application to the Vermont municipalities, including with respect to ethics complaints involving municipal officers. The provisions of Public Act 171 that apply to municipalities are codified in 24 VSA Chapter 60, 1991 through 1999. I will use these statutory citations going forward.
John, are there people in the waiting room?
I let people in a minute ago, Bill. I see nobody currently.
Okay.
The application, Public Act 171 to towns. Taken together, 24 VSA 1991 definitions, 1992 conflict of interest, and 1993 prohibited conduct constitutes what Title 24, Chapter 60 terms the Municipal Code of Ethics. These three statutes, and therefore the Municipal Code of Ethics, took effect on January 1, 2025. Section 1997 of Title 24 required Vermont municipalities to adopt by ordinance, rule, or personnel policy procedures for the investigation of complaints that allege a municipal officer has violated the Municipal Code of Ethics and the enforcement in instances of substantiated complaints, including methods of enforcement and available remedies, 24 VSA 1997. Section 1991, 12A defines municipal officer and officer to include any member of a legislative body of a municipality, which for a town means the town select board, 24 VSA 1991, 12A. The Killington Select Board complied with 1997's directive by adopting, or at least trying to adopt, the Town of Killington Code of Ethics Investigation and Enforcement Ordinance, the Killington Ethics Ordinance, on June 9th, 2025. Legal analysis of the Ethics Investigation Report. The Select Board now has before it 2 ethics complaints made against Mr. Half pursuant to Killington Ethics Ordinance. Mr. Half qualifies as a municipal officer for purposes of Municipal Code of Ethics. 1, the Killington Ethics Ordinance has no legal force or effect. The first problem with the EIR is that Ms. Jonas failed to recognize that the Killington Ethics Ordinance has no legal force or effect because the town failed to follow steps required by 24 VSA 1972 for an ordinance to become law. Section 1972 requires publication of the ordinance or a concise summary thereof in a newspaper circulating in the municipality within 14 days following the date of adoption, 24 VSA 1972. The purpose of this publication requirement is to alert the public that a petition signed by at least 5% of the qualified voters must be filed with the town within 45 days from the date of adoption in order to have the ordinance voted upon at a town meeting. This is called a permissive referendum. If the town does not receive a petition for a town vote on the ordinance within 44 days of the date of adoption, the ordinance becomes law and takes effect 60 days from the date of adoption by Select Board, 24 VSA 1972A2. If a voter petition is filed within the required time frame, the forthcoming town vote at an annual or a special meeting determines whether or not the ordinance adopted by the Select Board becomes law in the town, 24 VSA 1973. The adoption chronology on the last page of Killington's Ethics Ordinance has no date filled in for the date of publication of the ordinance. Ms. Jones should have seen this as a red flag and caused her to research further to ascertain whether the Killington Ethics Ordinance has the force of law. I have confirmed that the town did not publish any notice in the Mountain Times, let alone by June 23rd, 2025, regarding the Killington Ethics Ordinance adopted by the Select Board on June 9th, 2025. The voters of the town therefore never received notice of the contents of the ethics ordinance adopted by the Select Board in order to alert the voters of the time limit within which a petition for a town vote would have to be filed with the town to have the voters decide in an annual or special meeting where the ordinance would become law. As a result of this failure to comply with 24 VSA 1972, the Killington Ethics Code never became law in the town of Killington and therefore has no legal force or effect with respect to the pending ethics complaint. The investigation, adjudication, and enforcement of a complaint against a municipal officer subject to the Municipal Code of Ethics 24 VSA 1991 through 1993 requires the legal adoption of an ordinance, rule, or personnel policy to 24 VSA 1997. Without the adoption of an ordinance, rule, or personnel policy, the Municipal Code of Ethics remains trapped in a legal vacuum. The town's failure to adopt an ordinance, rule, or personnel policy to investigate, administer, or enforce the Municipal Code of Ethics leaves the town without any power and authority to apply the Municipal Code of Ethics in response to the 2 ethics complaints filed against Mr. Haff. In her EIR report, Ingrid Jonas failed to recognize the town's lack of legal authority and simply assumed that pursuant to the Killington Ethics Ordinance, the town could apply the Municipal Code of Ethics to investigate, evaluate, and respond to the ethics complaints made against Mr. Haff. Given the town's failure to adopt an ordinance, rule, or personnel policy necessary to make the Municipal Code of Ethics applicable to a Killington municipal officer, Ms. Jonas's conclusion that Mr. Haff violated the Municipal Code of Ethics on 3 occasions lacks any legal basis. The analysis which follows addresses substantively the EIR's findings of the 3 conflicts of interest violations by Mr. Haff. What follows, therefore, assumes for the sake of further analysis of the 3 findings themselves that the town had in place a legally operative ethics ordinance in place as required by 24 VSA 1997 in order to administer, investigate, and enforce the Municipal Code of Ethics 24 VSA 1991 through 1993. The EIR fails to apply the required legal standard to identify a conflict of interest. In her EIR, Ms. Jonas identifies 3 occasions, select board meetings, December 23rd, 24, February 10th, 25, August 25th of 25, on which she concludes that Mr. Haff violated the Municipal Code of Ethics. Ms. Jonas reasoned for each of the 3 findings that the participation or involvement of at the same level of Finance Director Mary Ellen Keenan Haff in a matter under discussion at a meeting of the Select Board, created a conflict of interest as defined by 24 VSA 91.5, or an appearance of conflict of interest. According to the EIR, this conflict of interest or appearance thereof in turn triggered 24 VSA 1992B, which required Mr. Haff to recuse himself immediately from further action on the matter or to comply with 24 VSA 1992B2A before continuing to participate on the matter before the Select Board. When confronted with a conflict of interest or an apparent thereof, a municipal officer may continue to participate in the matter if the municipal officer determines that there exists good cause to proceed. 24 VSA 1992 B2A and I. The municipal officer who determines good cause exists must then submit a written non-recusal statement to the Select Board, which includes an explanation written in plain language with sufficient detail of why good cause exists so that the municipal officer can take action in the matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. 24 VSA 1992 B2A, Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 3, and Roman numeral 4. Thank you, Rob. In the EIR, Ms. Jonas found Mr. Haff violated 1992 at 3 Select Board meetings because the information under consideration by the Select Board was presented by and/or was prepared at least by Ms. Ms. Half's wife, no, Mr. Half's wife, Mary Ellen Keenan Half, sorry about that. In doing so, Ms. Jonas failed to comply the correct legal standard of what constitutes a conflict of interest as defined by 24/1995-5. This failure on the part of Ms. Jonas renders her filings and conclusions regarding each of Mr. Half's alleged 3 violations unsupported and unsubstantiated. Section 1991 of the Municipal Code of Ethics defines conflict of interest as follows. Conflict of interest means a direct or indirect interest of a municipal officer or such an interest known to the officer of a member of the officer's immediate family or household or of a business associate in the outcome of and here's the key word, a very key word, particular matter pending before the officer or the officer's public body, or that is in conflict with the proper discharge of the officer's duty. Conflict of interest does not include any interest that is not greater than that of the other individuals generally affected by the outcome of the matter. And I'll pause real quick right there. If you go back and you read Ms. Ingrid's report, she does not include that portion of the definition. When I read it, it wasn't there, and I don't know about anybody else, but it was not included as I read it. So I think those are 2 key parts, the word particular and the exclusion of the greater than the other individuals part of the statement. 24 VSA 1991-5. On page 12 of the EIR, Ms. Jonas purported to articulate the statutory definition of conflict of interest, but in doing so, she omitted the critical word particular in her recitation of the definition. The word particular matters greatly, especially given the last sentence of the definition underlined above, which Ms. Jonas wholly ignored throughout the EIR. These omissions are of critical importance when the legal definition is applied to the 3 select board meetings in which Mary Ellen Keenan Half had some level of participation. Ms. Jonas's failure to apply the actual legal standard renders the findings and conclusions of her report fundamentally flawed. That the town finance director would have some involvement in the preparation of a proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal is to be expected. Budget preparation for the Select Board's consideration, December 23rd, 2024 Select Board meeting, is part and parcel of the job and is the preparation of the town financial information, as is the preparation of the town financial information, February 10th, 2025 and August 25th, 2025, the TIF reporting for the Select Board. In none of these 3 Select Board meetings identified by Ms. Jonas did Mr. Half or his wife have a direct or indirect in the outcome of the particular matter pending before the Select Board. Moreover, any interest of Mr. Half or his wife in the particular matter before the Select Board was not greater than that of the other individuals generally affected by the outcome of these matters. The adoption of a proposed fiscal budget for submission to the voters for approval and the approval of the annual TIF report for the required submission to the Vermont Economic Progress Council, VEPSI, only by ignoring the express statutory directive of what does not constitute a conflict of interest, could Ms. Jonas conclude that the participation of Mary Ellen Keenan Half in a particular matter before the Select Board created a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest on the part of Mr. Half. Therefore, no conflict of interest or appearance thereof arose as necessary to trigger the obligation under 24 VSA 1992 for Mr. Half to recuse himself or to present a written statement to the Select Board setting forth the reasons why he had good cause to continue to participate in the matter pending before the Select Board. I'll take a quick sip of water. A violation of the Municipal Code of Ethics could not have occurred before the Municipal Code of Ethics became law. Regardless of the substance of a particular matter before the Select Board at its meeting of December 23rd, 2024, Ms. Jonas's EIR is undermined by an error, even more fundamental error than her failure to apply the correct conflict of interest standard for Municipal Code of Ethics violation. The Municipal Code of Ethics, 24 VSA 1991-19 through 1993, do not constitute Vermont law on December 23rd, 2024. The statutory provision which comprise the Municipal Code of Ethics, which Ms. Jonas found Mr. Haft to have violated on December 23rd, 2024, did not take effect until January 1, 2025. Therefore, Mr. Haft's participation in the Select Board meeting of December 23, 2024, when his wife made a presentation concerning the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget, could not and did not violate the Municipal Code of Ethics as set forth in the EIR. Even if an undisputable conflict of interest arose on December 23, 24, such as consideration of a related employee's hiring, compensation, or discipline, no violation of the Municipal Code of Ethics could have occurred because the Municipal Code of Ethics had not yet become law. B, Ms. Keenan Haft's December 23, 2024 presentation to the Select Board of a proposed fiscal year 2025 budget did not create a conflict of interest. Even if the Municipal Code of Ethics were in effect on December 23rd, 2024, no conflict of interest arose by virtue of Ms. Keenan Haft's budget presentation. The EIR fails to identify or explain how a conflict of interest for Mr. Haft arose regarding the particular matter under consideration. The adoption of a proposed budget for the coming fiscal year to be placed on the warning for town meeting in March. Notably, voters at the 2025 town meeting did not vote to approve a line item for compensation of the town financial director. Rather, the voters were asked to approve the gross budget total. Once a proposed budget is approved by the voters, the Select Board proceeds to determine the town property tax rates. Unforeseen events and circumstances commonly arise during the course of a municipality's fiscal year that require a town to allocate and spend money differently than anticipated during the process by which a Select Board calculates a proposed budget for submission to the voters for approval. At the Select Board meeting of December 23, 2024, at which Ms. Keenan Haft presented a proposed fiscal year 2025 budget, neither Mr. Haft nor his wife had any interest greater than that of the individuals generally affected by the outcome. See 24 VSA 1995-5. Conflict of interest does not include any interest that is greater than that of the individuals generally affected by the outcome of a matter. All Ms. Jonas could say in support of her findings that Mr. Haft violated the Municipal Code of Ethics at the Select Board meeting on December 23rd, 2024, was that Mr. Haft's comments reinforced and strengthened Ms. Keenan Haft's presentation, EIR page 8. The rationale cannot qualify as a direct or indirect interest of Mr. Haft or his wife in the outcome of a particular matter pending before the Select Board. The approval of the overall budget total for the upcoming fiscal year for submission to the voters for approval at a town meeting, because neither Mr. Haft nor his wife had any interest greater than that of other individuals generally affected by the approval of a budget for fiscal year 2025 for submission to the voters, 24 VSA 1991-5. Moreover, if Mr. Haft violated the Municipal Code of Ethics because the proposed overall budget for the town included compensation for himself, his wife, and it's a typo, I believe. Mr. Haft, your daughter's name is Megan, correct? Okay, so there's a typo, but Megan Haft, EIR, page 8, who prepares the Select Board meeting minutes. Then every other member of the Select Board violated the Municipal Code of Ethics because the proposed overall budget also included their compensation. In Ms. Jonas's view of the municipal governance, every Select Board member would have to announce when considering a proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year that they have a conflict of interest because the proposed budget includes their compensation for serving on the Select Board. Given that wholesale recusal would paralyze the community, each Select Board member would have to issue a written statement to explain why they had good cause to continue their participation in the preparation of a budget for submission to the voters. The announcement of a conflict of interest and issuance of a statement of good cause would become annual, perfunctory events that would render the statement of good cause superfluous and without a useful purpose. That the legislator did not intend such an absurd result is readily apparent by its express statement that a conflict of interest does not include any interest that is not greater than that of the other individuals generally affected by the outcome of the matter, 24 VSA 1995. Ms. Jonas simply ignored this express exclusion from the definition of conflict of interest. C, Ms. Keenan-Half's December 23, 2024 presentation to the Select Board of a proposed fiscal year 2025 budget did not create a conflict of interest under the Killington conflict of interest policy. Mr. Half's participation in the Select Board's consideration of his wife fiscal year 2025 budget presentation on December 23, 2024 did not violate the town's September 17, 2019 policy regarding conflicts of interest for the town of Killington elected/appointed officials and employees, the Killington conflict of interest policy, similar to the express directive in the municipal code of ethics of what conflict of interest does not include. The Killington conflict of interest policy expressly states that A, conflict of interest does not arise in the case of an official act or action in which the public officer has personal or financial interest in the outcome, such as in the establishment of a tax rate that is not greater than that of the persons generally affected by the decision. Killington conflict of interest policy, Article 4A, I guess is what it's referring to. D, the Select Board's consideration of work product of Ms. Keenan-Half at its meeting of February 10th, 2025 did not create a conflict of interest. The Select Board's consideration and approval of February 10th, 2025 of the annual TIF report presented by Abby Sherman, which utilized financial figures prepared by Ms. Keenan-Half, likewise did not give rise to a conflict of interest as defined by 24 VSA 1991-5. Ms. Jonas does not articulate in the EIR how Ms. Keenan-Half's involvement with the presentation of the proposed annual TIF report created a direct or indirect conflict of interest with respect to the particular matter pending before the Select Board. The Select Board's approval of the TIF annual report for submission to BEPC. Specifically, Ms. Jonas does not articulate how and why the creation of work product by a town employee gives rise to an interest of the employee or of a related municipal officer necessary to trigger the recusal provision of 24 VSA 1992 when the municipal official takes up a matter for consideration which involves the employee's work product. Ms. Jonas does not identify any interest of Ms. Half or Mr. Half or Ms. Keenan-Half that is greater than that of other individuals generally affected by the outcome of a matter, 24 VSA 1991-5. There needs to be something more that consideration of the employee's work product to give rise to a conflict of interest. Otherwise, every time a Select Board member is called upon to consider a matter which includes work product prepared by a family member, which is not unusual in a small town, the Select Board member would have to recuse themselves or issue a written statement set forth good cause for their continued participation. The preparation of work product by a family member alone does not create in the municipal official any interest that is greater than that of the individuals generally affected by the outcome of a particular matter, absent some direct benefit to the employee. Excuse me. E, the Select Board's consideration of work product of Ms. Keenan-Half at its meeting of August 25 did not create a conflict of interest. Ms. Jonas' reasoning regarding the Select Board's consideration of a revised 2024 annual TIF report on August 25th, 2025 is even more tenuous and suspect than her findings and conclusions regarding the Select Board meeting of February 10th, 2025. As with the Select Board meeting of February 10th, 2025, Abby Sherman presented to the Select Board a proposed revision to the TIF annual report, which included a work product of Ms. Keenan Half. At the time of the August 25th, 2025 Select Board meeting, Ms. Keenan Half no longer worked for the town. Neither Mr. Half nor his wife had any direct or indirect interest in the particular matter before the Select Board on August 25, 2025. The approval by the Select Board of a revised TIF annual report for submission to VEPSI that was greater than that of the other individuals generally affected by the outcome of matter 24 VSA 1991-5. Therefore, the Municipal Code of Ethics does not trigger any duty for Mr. Half to recuse himself or to issue a written statement of good cause to vote on the approval of the revised TIF annual report. Conclusion. The Select Board is free to accept or reject any particular finding, some of the findings, or all of the findings and conclusions contained within the ethics report, investigation report dated June 29, 2026. As requested, I have set forth above my review and analysis of the EIR, as well as the reasons why Mr. Half did not violate the Municipal Code of Ethics or the Killington Conflict of Interest policy at the Select Board meeting December 23, 2024, February 10th, 2025, or August 25, 2025. Signed, sincerely, Kevin E. Brown, Langrock and Sperry.
Good job, John. Get the library, bro. We know.
So, Vito, you have any thoughts?
Thoughts?
Well-
I have plenty of thoughts.
Yes.
Okay. As stated in the last paragraph or so, yeah, we can accept the conclusions of the report, some, part or all. I accept the report, even though it's legally problematic. Was a real stretch to even find anything, because even in the report, it stated, even though each of those instances that she found that were, let's say, problematic, then each and every one of those, in and of themselves, was not deemed sufficient to be, problematic. What was problematic, as she stated, was that it indicated a pattern of behavior, okay? So to me, that's a real stretch to get anything out of this investigation. I accept the findings. But what was found was next to nothing. That's what I think.
Bill?
Okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, Vito. I'm
I got
sorry.
a whole list here.
Okay, good, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, and the complaint itself, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but if we read the report, something like 9 out of 10 items in the complaint were dismissed as not actionable via the ethics ordinance. They were just dropped because they were superfluous. Okay? Now, you have other issues, I'm not sure I should be bringing them up, but there was an issue with our town attorney, who was a witness in the report. He was the receiver of the report. He was the advisor to the object of the investigation and advised the investigator as well as reviewing the report. I find that very problematic, and I do not want to necessarily push it any further, but it has to be mentioned.
And to clarify, that's not Mr. Brown you're referencing?
That's right. Okay, now, we as a select board, I read this somewhere, I'm not exactly sure of our powers in terms of assigning disciplinary action to our chair, but from what I recall, we could ask for his resignation, or we could somehow admonish him for his behavior and not to do it again. That's what it amounts to. So we need to come to a determination as to what we want to do about that. Now, this whole investigation brings up issues which I'm sure plenty of people have noticed in this town, that there are other situations in town government with employees who are related. I think most people know who they are and what the situation is, so I'm not going to name names or anything at this point. We also have to consider what we're going to do about this ordinance, because what our legal people are telling us, it's invalid, useless, and cannot be used to investigate anybody else. So we have to somehow rectify that situation. And let's see, what's this one? Oh, yeah, I think I've said it all. That's it.
Okay, Bill?
Okay, a few items. First off, I was not involved in any of the hiring decisions or firing decisions that occurred related to Jim's wife, nor involved in any of the matters that were discussed in the ethics violation. So I was not present at any of those meetings, so I don't have the ability to make judgments on the explicit events, okay? I can say from the information that I've seen, okay, the town attorney in question that Vito mentioned, okay, at the time that Jim's wife was being hired, he specifically commented on that in a letter to the town, okay? And he did say at the time that Vermont law would allow her to be hired, okay? But in a subsequent paragraph, he also questioned should she be hired, okay? And he was making a recommendation that perhaps that was not the best thing for the town. So, I mean, the reason he was undoubtedly called in the ethics investigation, okay, was because of his prior opinion, okay? And that would be a legitimate thing for somebody to do. Obviously, penalizing Mr. Half at this point would be very problematic, okay, as the legality of the ethics regulations, okay, are suspect, as highlighted by Kevin, okay? So that does create a fundamental problem for the select board in trying to establish a remedy based upon the current ethics report, okay? I think the best remedy for this right now is that at the soonest possible date, the select board, perhaps under Rob, okay, take a look at the ethics proposal that was made, okay, back in 2025, review it, okay, edit it if we decide to edit it, pass it, and then send it out for public review, because the town does need an ethics policy that we can live by.
You good?
Yep.
Okay. So I pretty much concur with both of your positions. I think there are definitely some nuances here as it relates to the town attorney, his involvement and review of the report. It went far beyond the scope as required by the select board to the town manager. We had a very in-depth discussion about this, and we gave very specific instructions, and by my observations, they went far beyond the instructions provided and required as it relates to the investigative process. I would agree that there are no teeth here because, according to everything I just read, and I've read this 3 times now, I don't see any substantiated evidence of any wrongdoings. So I don't see how you can hold someone responsible for any wrongdoings if it's not been substantiated and law doesn't exist to substantiate anything, that, even if it did seem to exist. To Vito's point, we have other folks who have been select board members who have voted on budgets that have included their own salaries as well as family members' salaries. So this is not unique, I think, to Mr. Half. It has affected other people, and, you know, we wouldn't try to apply it on other people based on the fact that the law doesn't really exist. It's void and has no teeth. What I think we all do need to do is make sure that when we're going through these motions of different deliberations on various subject matter, that we take a pause and we consider what, a conflict of interest may or may not be, and if it's applicable, that we take a step forward and we make a statement about it, and whether it's in writing or verbal. But I think it's important that we all take that opportunity to reflect that, at any given time, we could have a conflict, and whether it rises to the level of needing to be discussed, or whether it should just be discussed out of caution, is probably relevant. So that's my thought.
I have one other thing to add, John.
Sure.
Okay, if memory serves me correctly, the town employee policy manual does have a clause on nepotism within the town, okay? We also probably should review that, okay? And we probably, let's face it, this situation, we're a small town, it's hiring family members probably will occur again in the future, okay? But we probably should add some documentation requirements to that hiring so that it can be explained to the public why the hiring was made, okay? Versus keeping that information private, okay? And I think that would be good policy to look at.
So, Bill, when this was discussed, last year? Was it last year or the year before?
The year before.
The year before.
Well,
So-
no, it was
25 last year.
25
Last
last
year,
year.
just over a year ago, 13
Yeah,
months.
June 2025.
So during the process of Jim and his wife getting hired and so on and so forth, there was no public discourse about this hiring? It was just amongst the town attorney, the town manager?
I have no idea, I wasn't on
You
the
weren't-
board
you
at the
weren't.
time, that was in
Oh,
2023.
okay.
Right, I have no idea. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So, and I would add that Mr. Half, by information that I've read, went to the town attorney to seek counsel, right? So
As far as I know.
there was an action taken, and with the goal of clarifying and codifying that there will not be a conflict of interest, or under what parameters a conflict of interest could exist. I think that's important to recognize, because I think it doesn't always happen probably that way, and I think it's important that again, you be proactive.
I think that document, was that made public with the ethics investigation material?
So this is yet another issue with, in my opinion, with the town attorney.
Okay.
Is that was attorney-client information that, when he reviewed this finality to the report, should have been excluded from the report, because it is privileged information between the town and the attorney. So he really, in my opinion, and from not only the legal professionals that we employ, but also my friends who are attorneys who I spoke to, about the general idea and concept of it, that information should have been privileged and not included in a report. So if said attorney reviewed this report for purposes which I am told were only to ensure that there was no legal jeopardy created for Ms. Jonas or the town, I would think, one, an attorney would not include such information. I think, two, an attorney would not allow words to be parsed, or statements of law to be parsed. So in other words, if we have a complete statement about conflict of interest, we shouldn't exclude the second half, like in this term, after the word particular, and then the outcomes of greaterness, and, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I don't understand why an attorney would allow, if, again, they're trying to avoid legal jeopardies, is what I was told, why said attorney would allow a parsing of words, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Every attorney that I interact with does not.
Well, it just brings more credence to the fact that we need to strengthen our town policies, procedures, and regulations.
Correct.
Okay, to eliminate any ambiguity.
Correct. Mr. Half, you'd like to speak?
Yeah.
Or try to.
I'm going to let my lawyer speak in a minute here, but, Bill, did you read the email from Jim Barlow?
I was provided with it, yes.
Okay, so when you say that it says that my wife shouldn't have been hired, you're taking that, well, that's what you just
No,
said.
that's not,
Okay, so repeat what you said.
okay. what was said is, he said very explicitly that under Vermont law, okay, that your wife could be hired, because in a small town, it is, that's a normal process, okay, because of a restricted candidate pool for positions, okay? And that was the beginning of his letter. But what he said was that the town should consider, should she be hired? Okay, he didn't say the town could not hire. Okay, so please don't pretend that he said that. He did not say that. He said that the town in its consideration for hiring her should consider, should she be hired based upon,
Didn't he say something about it's problematic?
yeah, it's problematic, yeah, basically, yeah.
So basically, this is where I'm coming in, folks, and I'll let my lawyer speak in a minute. The letter said it was to look into nepotism. The letter specifically says from Mr. Barlow, James Barlow, that according to our policy on the nepotism, there is no nepotism, and the hire is okay. He goes on later on to speak about if the town has an issue of me being the zoning administrator and a select board member, then maybe we should put my job out. Never mentioned anything about my wife not being hired. She was cleared to be hired, but my job could have been not, he said, put it back out if the town wanted to put the job back out as the zoning administrator. Okay, so it was a shock when you read the Mountain Times that when the board and the planning commission nominated me to be the zoning administrator for full time, okay, they nominated me. So I guess they didn't think it was a problem. So if you guys like spending $5,000 to find out that Mary Keenan Half is married to me, Jim Half, I could have went to St. Peter's Church and gotten you something that showed May 2nd of 1992 that we were married. Number two, the report says that I never stated that Mary Keenan Half was my wife. And when you go through that, the date of August 25th, 2025, with Abby Sherman reading off a document, okay, she puts in there that I said, I would treat the rest of you board members the same way as I am treating my wife right now, just to get it so that Abby Sherman was known that she was changing a report, which I find funny right now that VEPSI is questioning a report that was given to them that is changed by Mark Dakota, by Abby Sherman, and others. But she forgets the 3 seconds prior to me saying, I would treat you board members the same. I believe it's around 48 minutes and 52 seconds or whatever of that meeting. I said, we all know she's my wife. So if you folks like spending $5,000 on this, then great. But I heard something in the background, John, when you were reading off. You know, I don't like the fact that my attorney, that even Mr. Brown starts talking about statutes that weren't in place yet because you can't charge me with whatever because they weren't in place. And then I hear technicality in the back room. Forget about the technicality. There was no conflict of interest. You all knew she was my wife. I didn't hire her. But when we're going to talk about things, and we're going to say things, I said she was my wife. I don't have to come out and say if somebody else is getting paid that's underneath my family, that it's a conflict, if there's no conflict. Otherwise, we'll be here for more than 3 hours every single time if we had to. So that being said, I would just like my lawyer, Andy Montrell, to say a few words of getting away from the technicality and the reality of why it's not a conflict.
I would add that using the word technicality is, I guess you could say that, but it is would only be one part of the totality of the statement, you know. So you could say, oh, well, it's a technicality because the law didn't exist. However, The letter of explanation from Attorney Brown clearly goes on and continues to go over all of the reasons why it goes well beyond just the technicality of it, if that's the word that someone wants to use from a layman's perspective. However, it is greater than that when you read the definitions supplied. So I'll leave it at that.
So I would like to reiterate that in and of themselves, the three instances of supposed conflict of interest were not problematic, according to the report. It was only the pattern of behavior that somehow became a bigger problem. And ultimately, given, I don't know, was that one page of the report? That was like 10 pages or something? That went through all these bogus assertions?
Yes.
And we had to pay $5,000 to get those labeled as such? And to come up with this really, really, really tortured conclusion? Well, I'll leave it up to everybody else's discretion.
I'd like my attorney to talk, John.
Okay. Attorney Montrol, are you out there, sir?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, and appreciate that you were reading Attorney Brown's opinion to the Select Board as well. And as you could tell from the reading, he and I apparently are very closely aligned on what the outcome should be. You know, I think it was a real travesty the way that the investigator handled the report. I think it should have been left just looking at the items that were complained of. And when you look at the items that were complained of in the two complaints, there was absolutely no substantiation of any of those complaints. And I think it's really important that the Select Board recognize that and that the Select Board vote to exonerate Mr. Half on all of those issues that were raised in the two ethics complaints. And then with regard to his wife, as both my conclusions were and as Attorney Brown's conclusions were, yes, there was a lot of technical problems with it, and that alone should disqualify that portion of her report. But when you get to the substance of her report, when you apply the proper definitions of conflict of interest, there simply was none. And so in her conclusions where she says, where she loosely says, on those three meetings, even though those weren't a conflict in and of themselves, it was only the totality of it. It's a totality of a false analysis. It's a totality of a definition that was misapplied. So there is no totality of events that could even be considered here. Each one was not a conflict of interest, was not even close to a conflict of interest. And so the totality of it is nowhere near a conflict of interest. And so on the expanded portion of her report, where she asserts that there was a conflict with Mr. Half's wife for those three meetings, I think it's really important again that the Select Board take a vote to exonerate Mr. Half for each of those accused conflicts of interest when there was none. I think to not do that I think it just looks really bad that the Select Board would leave hanging this report that's clearly flawed at so many different levels. I appreciate your giving me the opportunity to speak on this. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will have a vote on the subject. It is a quasi-judicial proceeding, so there will not be questions from the public. I can read the statute if people would like me to read the statute as to why that is, but because it is quasi-judicial, there is no public comment specific to this subject in our discussion as it relates to the vote.
So do we need a motion of some sort?
Yes, would you like to make a
Okay,
motion,
so I
Vito?
would like to move that we accept the report, but not accept the conclusion of the report.
Anybody want anything to it, or?
I will second that we accept the report, but I would say that we don't accept the conclusion of the report based upon the legal analysis that conflict of interest for those 3 meetings did not exist because there was no benefit to the halves, okay? That was greater than any benefit to any other member of the select board at the time.
Well, if we're gonna go down that road.
Well, I think we should be
Well,
specific
no, no,
about
well, if
why.
we're, that's where I'm heading.
Yeah,
Then we should also add that the town ordinance that the investigation was done under was totally invalid.
it's fair. That's fair.
And so that, and I will add that, so that Mr. Half did not violate the municipal code of ethics to the end of that.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Can somebody read what they're actually voting on?
Robin will go back. I mean, Vito, you want to go back over, you want to go back over
Rod's
that?
not running like crazy. He's starting to sweat now.
Well, and that's why minutes are good, and the video is great.
I can.
Oh, wait
repeat-
1 second, if we could, Vito.
Yeah.
Attorney Montrol, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. In terms of the motion that's being made, I think it's important to bifurcate the motion in a sense, because there were 2 sets of findings in the report, in the investigator's report. The first half of the findings, you should accept. That half of the findings are the ones where the investigator concluded that there was no ethical violations of any matters that were raised in the complaints. And I think it's really important not to just accept the report, but not the findings on those particular matters, because I think it's important, again, that you agree that there were no ethical violations of the items raised in the report. And then I think your motion would be appropriate for the second half, dealing with the alleged conflicts with his wife that don't exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Just trying to make some notes, folks, so bear with me so I can try to come up with like one complete statement.
I think he's basically saying to accept the report
No, I get it,
of the
John.
actual state ethics complaint
Yep.
written by Andrew Geeter and, what's the other guy's name?
Don Morton.
Don Martin. To accept that part where she's found nothing wrong at all. And then you guys could go on about the second part. That had nothing to do with Andrew Geeter or Don Martin. And I would love to have in it, as my attorney had said, to exonerate me, because there is nothing there. And once again, I will write a letter to my younger self, I know that's not possible, to never help another town try to move forward. I got my term, I will finish here.
Okay. So the motion, ready? And if I get it and you feel you need to stop me, feel free.
Okay, so oh, you got it written down.
I have-
Okay, go ahead.
I've got notes and I'm going to try to put it into
Okay, right.
complete sentence here. So the motion is to accept the first half, HALF, of the report of the ethics complaints waged by Andrew Gita and Don Martin of Killington, Vermont residents, that there were no ethical violations of the items as raised in the complaints. Second part, Mr. Half did not violate any municipal code of ethics. And the third part, the final part of the motion is that this motion exonerates Mr. Half from any wrongdoings as alleged in the EIR report.
What about his wife? There was no conflict.
My wife's not in
Yeah,
it.
she's not in it,
Yeah.
so that's,
She's not appointed and she's not elected, which some people say she's up on charges. Another freaking,
so, gentlemen, feel free to bring it back around, because,
Could you read the last part again?
and that this motion exonerates Mr. Half of any wrongdoings.
are we asleep or are we making a motion?
Does anybody want to add to that motion, or are we ready to take a vote?
You need a second.
We had a discussion, so we had a first, we had a
Well, we
motion,
have
we
to
had a
second-
second.
we have to
Now
second the
Now it's
motion.
vote, right?
Okay, so it's, we accept the first half of the report for the ethics complaint filed by Mr. Gator and Mr. Martin, with the conclusion that there were no ethical violations.
There were no
Ethical.
investigations.
No,
There's nothing to do with investigating.
well,
There were
no
no
ethics violations.
ethics violations
Okay,
as raised in the ethics complaints.
okay. And then the second half,
Mr. Half did not
Did not
violate
violate
any municipal code of
code
ethics.
of ethics. Okay, and, okay, based upon that,
Non-existent.
well, there's several issues there, but if you look at the technicality is he and his family did not receive any benefit
Well, that's-
greater than any other.
I wouldn't even say that's the technicality, that's just the law.
Well, that's, I mean, that's,
So- so
but
it's
where
not
the law doesn't really
technicality.
exist, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, where the law, because
So
the
that's why I
law's
say
not
the
approved.
carte blanche
Yeah.
the carte blanche statement is probably
exists.
better, because it's just it's a global statement, right? That there was no violation, because there was no violation that actually occurred, or was possible even if it had occurred.
Excuse me, John.
Sir?
The law exists as far as the definition of a conflict.
Yes,
That there is no
that's-
conflict if it's not greater
Right,
for either one. So when you folks are sitting there saying it's a technicality, the law for conflict of interest states that last sentence, that there is no conflict, the only way there is conflict if it is greater for me.
Correct.
So
Right.
that law stands.
Right, and that's why I say.
Definitions.
that's why I'm just wondering if we
just
should
to leave
include
it-
that, to be clear about what our,
Yeah, we
what
could
our
do that.
decision is.
Yeah.
That's all. Just adding that for clarity,
Yeah.
not for,
Let me see if I can
Yeah.
go back and find that.
I mean, the only thing I can say to that, I mean, we're stating law when the law is not even in effect
well, this,
because of the way the ethics or the
Code of
code of ethics or the ordinance was not ratified. We never had an ordinance that could be violated.
You have a policy that states what a conflict of interest is. The policy states, and the policy has been in place since 2018. So if you want to say, based on the policy of 2018, the definition of a conflict had not occurred because it was not greater to me than anyone else in this town.
And that's why,
That's why I'm the chair.
right, there's no benefit to,
right,
Fucking sitting here like,
So, and that's why, again, I just think to use the totality of the statement is simpler than getting into the weeds of including the,
Well, it's just
Action.
quoting the statute so that
Right.
when people read this and understand it, okay, they understand why we made the
Again, there's no
decision.
statute.
That's all.
yep,
Keyword.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not disputing the finding, I'm just saying
Right.
we need to be clear
So then,
on how we
Okay.
came to the finding.
all right, so coming back to start over again for the motion. Motion is to accept the report, the first half of the report.
I don't like the word half, because it's not half, it's like 90% of the
Right.
report.
Right, okay.
Majority.
Why don't you break it into two motions?
Well, I kind of have three here, but,
We still need the proper language.
Is there a lawyer on the call?
yeah, but I don't necessarily think the
Right.
Attorney Montrol should write our motion.
I didn't know if Kevin Brown was on, John.
No, I do have access to it. I do have access to Attorney Brown if I need it, but I think we should be able to come up with the motion to satisfy purposes of the vote, because what we're saying is all there. It's just a matter of how deep we want to get into the statement of all these things. So again, the motion is to accept the findings of the report that, findings of the report, I had it right the first time, I don't know where the hell it went in my mind. Accept the report. Okay. So the motion is to accept the first half of the report, that there were no ethical violations as raised in the ethics complaints by Andrew Gita and Don Martin, residents, town of Killington. Second statement, Mr. Half did not violate any municipal code of ethics or conflicts of interest. Because there was no greater interest than that of other individuals generally affected by the outcome of a matter. And then the third part of the motion is that this motion will exonerate Mr. Half of any wrongdoings as alleged in the two ethics complaints. Can I get a vote?
I think you got it.
Yeah.
Bill? Yay.
I think you need to say first and a second, please. It's been a long 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
No one?
No.
Make a motion like half an hour ago.
Yeah, you did. Right.
Someone just second John's
So can you second my
motion.
motion, Vito?
I can second yours.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I want to say thank you.
Vote is unanimous.
Technicalities. I just wanted to make sure you voted correctly.
No, that's fine. I can appreciate that,
No, we need to do this correctly.
because as we can tell,
Yeah.
we need to follow policy, process, and procedures. So that's that. Hearing,
Thank you,
that
Andy.
part of our meeting is complete with the ethics findings.
How about a 2-minute break?
We'll take a quick couple-minute break, 5 minutes, we'll call it.
5 minutes.
So we are back from a 5-minute recess. Since I did not know that it was a 9-page report that I asked you to read, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The listers, could we please move the listers from number 8 to now? Okay? Can I get a motion to change the listers, accept the listers' reports of errors and admissions now?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Go ahead, listers.
Okay.
You've got two memos there regarding the errors that we've discovered. I guess I'll take the biggest one first, and that is Great Gulf. They have property that's both in the TIF district and outside of the TIF district. And in compliance with state statutes that stipulate abutting parcels be combined into one tax bill, Listers and Great Gulf got together and cooperated to combine all of the Great Gulf properties into 2 umbrella tax bills. Upon review of the final appraisal report, we realized that this had improperly affected the TIF accounting. This was confirmed when we discussed it with Stephanie Clark, the town's TIF advisor. And so we then needed to separate the TIF parcels out, return them to their separate tax bills. And during that process, the value of the main Great Gulf Killington tax bill was not updated to reflect the transfer of values back to their TIF tax bills. The result was then that Great Gulf Killington was being double taxed, approximately $19.5 million is the difference. It's about 0.9% of the grand list. So we need to reduce the umbrella parcel by the $19,517,400, which will change the tax bill from $43,552,400 to $24,035,000. On a good note about this is we haven't needed to file, and that's coming up soon, but we haven't filed our Form 815 with the state of Vermont, so we are not liable for any of the taxes that might occur as a result of this error, that might have occurred. They won't occur now, but by making the change prior to our filing the 815. So, that's the big one. Then we've got a small one. And,
Before we leave off on this, just
Sure.
this document that we need to sign, this calculation you just went through, it looks like a typo, because 43,
is.
you know, it
Yeah.
is a-
I saw that.
Needs a
as I was-
zero. Needs a zero.
I saw that as I was reading it, yeah. So, you need a zero at the end of the $24,035,000.
what do we just,
So I read it correctly, but
You could add signature,
add it and then initial.
initial.
that's what I thought, okay.
Yep.
Are we signing just the one document, or each?
No, there's 2, but
No,
let me
no,
go,
no,
let me
I'm just
finish
saying.
going.
Just the one.
Just one that's going to circulate amongst us?
Oh, I see. Let me finish with this here. There's another parcel which Great Gulf and Killington Resort, neither one of them knew who owned it. So originally, the parcel was being shown as owned by Great Gulf, but during the reappraisal, it was agreed by all parties that the property should be under the auspices of Killington Resort. During the data transfer from Vision to Nimerick, the parcel was assigned in error to both parties. So the listers are asking, we need to inactivate one of the parcels, and in the amount of $244,950, as it's a duplicate tax bill. And again, there's no worries about owing the taxes on that because we haven't filed our 815 yet. And on a positive note, there's a property owned by Great Gulf. It was transferred to Nimerick from Vision incorrectly at $6,078,000. And upon review, that value needs to be corrected as $6,126,800, which is an increase of $48,800.
Can I get a motion to accept the listers errors and admissions as stated with the one change of adding, I think, what did you say, a zero?
Zero, yeah.
One of the numbers. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second?
So basically, Butch,
Yeah.
it's just a simple, the state law says put all the budding properties together.
Yep.
But for a TIF district, they say you need to keep them separately because
Yep.
it's the increment of all the different ones.
Yep.
When you switched it around, for some reason, the bulk stayed the same.
Yep.
And went out, and this one went out.
Right,
The second one is just that they were fighting over who owned the property.
correct,
And they've come to an agreement, but a bill went out to both of them.
correct,
And the third one is that it's off by $48,800 to the plus,
correct.
after $20 million to the negative on the other two.
Hey,
Okay.
I said it was a small,
Okay? So, all in
Small
favor?
positive note.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll send this around and.
We have one
We
other.
have one more.
Yep, that's fairly straightforward. Mr. Donnellan owns a condo at Kings Pines. He grieved his value, and during grievance, the listers agreed with his presentation, and we lowered the value from $959,000 to $753,900. However, the new value did not get entered into NIMRIC, which is our tax bill program, so we need to correct that and issue a new tax bill. And then we've got a young lady, Patricia Comblo, who owns a condo at Pico. She grieved her value, the listers agreed with her presentation and lowered the value from $210,400 to $177,000. The new value did not get entered into NIMRIC, and so we need to correct that as well.
Can I get a motion to accept the second list of Joseph Donlan and Patricia Comblo?
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so
Gentlemen, thank
this is just a matter of, for some reason, it didn't, after the grievance, it didn't go down to $753,900 on the first,
Correct.
and it didn't go down to $177 on the second.
Right.
And on both of these items here, since we have not filed the paperwork already to the state, or we're within the time limit of when we're allowed to file with the state, we will not be, we would have, if we didn't hit this, been taxed on the education and not get it back. But since you guys are doing your job and going through your errors and admissions, we're not paying the state on any of these mistakes.
Correct.
I want to say thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Do all three of you need to have signatures on this?
They
'Cause
just
I-
got it.
We're a board of three, so two constitutes a quorum.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question?
Hang in there 1 second. There is somebody's microphone on iPhone. Go ahead.
So does this change,
Just say your name, so.
Celia Clancy, does this change our grand list total?
Yes, it does. It'll
Okay.
reduce it by the amounts that we talked about.
Because that's pretty significant.
It's 0.9% of the grand
Oh,
list.
0.9, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
0.9.
So do you
It's-
mean 9%?
No,
Less
it's
than-
less than
9/10 of
1%.
1%, okay.
9/10 of 1%.
This is why, when the board has been asked, what is the municipal tax rate? We're using a rate of somewhere between 28 cents and 30 cents, because everybody understands between the listers and the board that there are changes from here until the date that we actually set the tax rate based off of what the grand list comes up. So everything that they're doing here is in the time frame, and especially since it's a reappraisal that's been taking 2 years because we have so many properties here, okay? So it's less than 1%, which maybe it's less than 1 cent. So now maybe instead of 28 cents, we're 29 cents, okay? Or maybe we're 30, I don't know, but it's going to fall within that area there. So, since we're letting the public speak on, any other questions? Go ahead, Butch. You don't know what it's going to be.
No, I don't, but I just throw out that the BCA is going to be hearing a lot of appeals over value. And anytime the BCA lowers a value, it's going to affect our, it's going to affect what can be raised in taxes because their tax bill will change. So you may want to have an extra penny in there to cover something like that, unless you know that you're not going to do that.
Well, I've been asking for a long time, while we started this budget, Bill, that's saying, we know that 85% of the increase up at the TIF district is going to the bond. So when we figure out the tax rate, we're going to have to account for that 85%, not coming to the general fund, but going to the tax fund. Somebody that has iPhone, you keep on unmuting yourself, and I have to keep muting you. We also would like to know who iPhone is. So,
Yes, that's me, that's Eli Kirshner.
all right, Eli,
And
but,
I'm on my cell phone, I apologize.
all right, so let's stop, I'm gonna mute you, thank you. So are there any other questions from the audience on this, since we're letting?
I'll pick up the 2 memos from you tomorrow.
We're already signing. Oh, Eli, can you please just, I'm sorry, but can we please wait?
Okay,
We're-
no problem.
Thank you. This way we can get them to you right now, Butch?
Okay, no, I'm happy to take them right now. Didn't know how you wanted to do that.
We don't want them to get lost
Yeah.
in our hands. Eli, go ahead.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, very loud, I hope.
Thank you.
I'm a little confused, to be
Thank you,
very
guys.
honest with you, and somewhat embarrassed. But with all the information you presented, what does that do to my individual tax bill?
We just said to you that it's probably going to add less than a penny to the municipal tax rate.
Okay, great, okay, thank you.
All right? Since we're going around, is there any other person on Zoom that has a question? Not hearing any. We're going back to town manager's report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good night, folks, who's ever leaving.
You don't want to hear the town manager's report?
You can read the minutes.
It's all right.
Have a good
I
one.
got thick skin. All right, we ready?
Go ahead. You want
We're
to
ready,
stand up?
okay. So this evening,
Wake us up.
full I'm gonna wake myself up first, too. But in full transparency, I like to keep the community updated on where we've been, where we're going, and, because there is a lot of good stuff happening. I'm going to talk about 6 things tonight. Before I get into the first, which will deal with financials, I do want to call out that I very much appreciated the overwhelming engagement last Thursday night. We had at least 35 people here, about another 25 online with the Zoom, which, yes, we had some problems, and I apologize. But I think it's a good indication that the community really does want to galvanize, come together, figure out the path forward, and it shows good civic responsibility. So I am especially thankful for that. And I also want to call out that if you recall, at the beginning, I had asked if people could not talk over one another, let's stay civil, so we can all hear everyone. I thought the meeting came down beautifully. You agree, Celia?
I do.
Thank you very much. All right, so first things first, let's talk about some critical financial actions that have been taken. So we've done several financial transactions last week, and I'll share them with you. First, we retired a $5,030,000 maturing debt, and that was done last Monday, August 5th. Now, we still have a balance of $1.3 million. That was also due last Monday, but importantly, because of the incredible relationship that's been fostered with Community Bank, they are giving us some additional time to make that repayment. So stay tuned. There is approximately $2.4 million that we must still pay by November 15th for the FEMA work and work that's being done on Rim Road. We do know that there's approximately $1.5 to $2 million in pending reimbursements for the East Mountain Road work that was done, and some of the work on Rim Road. And we know for a fact that just on East Mountain Road alone, the striping that got done the end of April is going to get us another $1,050,000. We submitted a formal commitment to request on 8/7 to Community Bank for another 3 $1,491,224 for a loan to cover current expenses. The target close date for that is next week, August 17th. I'm really excited to report that approximately 3:15 this afternoon, Community Bank came back to us and granted us the application and said we will move forward, which is a huge move, contingent, of course, on us repaying the 1.3 million that had not yet been trued up last Monday, that I said we couldn't pay at that point in time. We didn't have sufficient funds, but there will be money coming in to cover that. I just want to underscore, Community Bank has been exceptionally responsive to us and very professional through this whole process. And it's not been easy, let's face it. You know, with some of the negative stuff that's in the press and just word of mouth, you know, it makes you feel somewhat vulnerable when you're dealing with a banking institution. But importantly, all the requested documentation has moved us forward, so I feel good about that, and you all as a community should feel great about it. The next area is reimbursement, recovery, and grant administration. So one of my early findings was identifying that there were some significant administrative gaps in our FEMA reimbursement pipeline. Specifically, I'm referring to that $1,050,000 in reimbursement for the 2023 East Mountain Road FEMA work that was done. And again, just to, repetition and reinforcement, they say, is important. The striping that was completed on April 29th this year and some related work was not properly submitted for processing with FEMA, and we're on that. Now, there's multiple other project documentations for FEMA that were not filed, but again, we're on it. So to address this more systematically, on Friday, July 31st, we engaged an organization by the name of TRC/WSP to conduct a comprehensive document recovery and filing assistance project for us. And it's only costing us $10,000 to likely recover up to $2 million. So I would say pretty good ROI. George, I see you shaking your head.
Good job.
Thanks. Well, it's team
We
effort.
gotta get the money.
Team effort, we need the money. We actually, within 72 hours of hiring TRC/WSP, their gentleman, Josh Robinson, was in our FEMA grants portal. And then on Monday, that's 72 hours after he started that Friday, we met with him and Charlie Yu. Charlie is from the State of Vermont Flood Recovery Team and the Vermont Emergency Management Group. And the early findings and action steps have been identified. We're already getting a lot of the paperwork prepared and submitted, and that will help ensure eligible reimbursements and proper administration going forward on all procedures. Next, forensic audit. Yeah, I know, you've heard about this for a long time. We all have. Here's good news. It's no longer a dream. Last Thursday, the 6th, we executed our signed engagement agreement with Barry Dunn. This was, as you recall, voted in March by the community. This will go back 3 years to do this forensic audit, and it's scheduled to begin with a kickoff later this week. The independent review will add critical clarity on historical financial procedures and identify any additional administrative improvements needed. Next area, only a couple more, so stay tuned. Strategic partnerships and operational support. We're actively involved in building external expertise to supplement our current staffing while we work on permanent hires. Following a Monday, July 27th p.m. meeting in person with Jim Half and Lisa Davis-Lewis, with Shasta Matino, Director of Finance and Operations at the Chamber of Economic Development of the Rutland region, Shasta responded to a request I made of her that afternoon within 72 hours. She provided a phased 8-month compliance, remediation, and stabilization proposal. The good news is this Thursday, the 13th, Jim and I will meet with her and Sarah Furman, who's the executive director from the Chamber of Economic Development, to discuss this multi-phase proposal for municipal support and economic development initiatives. Then on Friday, the 14th this week, there'll be a follow-up session with TRC/WSP to evaluate additional grant, stabilization support, and project management guidance. Staffing progress. We interviewed, Jim and I, a candidate for a position as a financial manager. This was a candidate supplied by Robert Half. We did that last Thursday.
HALF.
I actually have HALF here, Jim, but yes, forgive me for not sharing that again. And we have a follow-up interview later this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. So, in concluding, here's the path forward. The immediate priorities remain. Number one, secure current expenses loan commitment of $3.4 million for our general fund expenses. And upon a yes vote tomorrow for the budget, we can start to get municipal tax bills out to begin getting money coming in to the coffers. Number two, we will begin the forensic audit and document recovery work this week. Number three, secure contracting for an interim finance manager that I just spoke about a moment ago. Number four, establish recurring grant and reimbursement compliance protocols. Number five, secure a public works director, either subcontractor, internal, hybrid, or an actual hire as it's shown in the budget. Last two areas, finalize broader strategic partnerships with external expertise that is very much needed. And seven, good news, found out this morning, I talked to our director of the highway, Chad, resurfacing of the Killington access road by the end of September, I was told. So, thank you. In concluding, I would just like our select board to be assured that as the interim town manager, I am moving with appropriate urgency and transparency to stabilize, with help, our financial position and establish sustainable administrative practices. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
I'd like to throw a couple of things in here.
Please.
John and Rob and I met with the bank 2 Fridays ago. Thursday, they sent a sheet to us showing us that on that following Monday, so a week ago, we owed $6.3 million to the bank. We had $5,325,000 in the bank. We were told that there was enough money on the side to pay back in a meeting in June, I believe, for the ban and the GAN note. We had to get on a telephone call with the bank. This is the second time that I've had to get onto a telephone call with a bank and ask for an extension on a loan that I have nothing to do with. We paid the $5,003,000 or $30,000, whatever it was, towards $6,300,000. I must have spoke for 20, 25 minutes, being frank and upfront with the bank. There were 3 people. Obviously, one of them was the top person to make a decision. After explaining to him how, truthfully, that this town, outside of this board's jurisdiction, has been commingling funds into a general fund and not accounting correctly, that we instructed for separate bank accounts to be open. It took in that meeting for, what is his name?
Bruce?
No,
Hayden.
Hayden, to come in on a phone call to set up these separate bank accounts.
Yes.
We are now set up with separate bank accounts, Bill, thank you, okay? But I continue to push forward that we need the $3.4 million for the current note expense so we can get the funds to run until November. That is not fun, folks. It is not fun at all, and I don't know that many people here that would take that on to do that. What did the gentleman, Bruce, who obviously was the top person for the bank?
I'll say it. So when we were all said and done with the conversation, and we did, and Jim, I will say, probably in the whole call, 90% of the discussion was had from the Killington side. And when the presentation was complete, we asked the team from community if there was anything else that they needed from us, at which point Bruce replied and he said, actually, I don't. I have a list of all these questions that I had, and you proactively answered them without me having to ask any of them, and I don't have any. In fact, you've given me more information even than I had on my list, so I think we're good, and thank you very much. So it's about communication, folks. It's about being positive. It's about bringing affirmative action to the table and knowing that we are moving in the right direction, and contrary to what some people have said, we are not in a bad place.
So, and I know that that person, Bruce, was the top person, because when Rob and I had to meet up this week with, he was no longer on there. So the other two had the okay to move forward with this $3.4 million loan, okay? And I just want to say that when we spoke with them, they said, you do have to pay us back the $1.3 million first. And I laughed and said, of course, I would never ask a bank for more money until I paid what was owed.
That's right.
In my own personal, I wouldn't do it here. So now, people might say, where are we getting this $1.3 million from? Lisa Davis Lewis, along with Naomi from Dufresne's group, upon administrative hold, went through a whole bunch of paperwork to find out that 2 pay apps were not submitted to SRF and Catalyst grant. They were Catalyst, NRBC. It's a grant that we got, okay? So they were filed back around June 11th, July 11th, July 12th, and we expect to have that money in any day or within the next 10 days, okay? So upon getting those funds, $1.3 million will be going to Community Bank. $200,000 will go to the general fund, and then we will get the 3.4 million, whatever, 51,000, okay, in to get us, keep on running. But so now what's come up is there's 2 more pay apps that just, 2 more bills from SUR West that is due in 10 to 20 days from now for $1.5 million. And we told Community Bank, Rob and
Yes.
John, that when we had the real number, we would come back to them on that also. The number at that time, before us, was supposed to be about renewing a $4.2 million. Talking to Naomi, it looks like we need to get this 1.5 plus another $1 million for future work this year. But the $1.5 million, this is how simple this should have been all along. We pay a bill out of the general fund. We file it with Community Bank. Community Bank already had the loan. They put the money into our bank account. In this case here, it goes into the separate bank account. Then it funds back to the general fund. Then, once it's paid, you cannot put to SRF or any of these grants, and SRF is State Revolving Fund. You cannot put reimbursements until you showed you paid the bill with a check or an ACH. So once we do that, within 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be reimbursed that. Those funds then will go to that bank account, and then they will get paid back to the bank and cancel it out. The paperwork I received 2 Thursdays ago now for that meeting with the bank was quite concerning because it showed that a loan was taken out for $8.4 million in August of 2025. And we drew down some $5.8 million on that back to August of 2025, January of 2026, and March of 2026, and also now just most recently. We received funds back from the state revolving fund, and we received funds back from grants. They were not used to pay back the loan. That's a no-no.
Right.
We will never do that again. Okay? And I know some folks will say, well, that's micromanaging of the board. No. We will be making sure that this never happens again. This is the last time I go to a bank for this town and have to ask for a 30-day or a 20-day or whatever extension while I'm up on these ridiculous charges. I should have just walked away, but I love this town so much that I continue to work for the town and the people that vote for me, okay? So I just want to say, thank you, Rob, for when the board gives you instructions
Yeah.
or ideas,
Yes.
that you took them and ran with them, because it was always given.
Well, thank you, Jim, and I just want to add, it's one of my favorite slogans, and I've carried this with me from the time I began skiing. And it's under the theme of race while others lace. And that was the Buckle Boot Company that invented buckled ski boots. That was their advertising slogan. On Friday, I drove from here to my home to see my family in Connecticut. And when I arrived, I had received en route a statement from the bank, and it was from Ashley. And under the spirit of race while others lace, I knew darn well if I wait until Monday, when I came back last night, but if I waited until today, she was going on vacation next week. You gotta believe she had a pile of paperwork. So I purposely went to Staples, did what I had to do, got it printed, signed, faxed, shot back to her. She came back and said thank you, and as you know, this afternoon, about 3:15, she gave us the green light for the 3.4 million contingent on paying the 1.3. So you can't sit on stuff,
At
right?
4.25%, but let's also remember, that doesn't really matter because it's part of the TIF, and the developer is going to be paying all that anyway at the end of it. So, in essence, I don't care what board, but this board is working together. If there's a new one, I am sure that it will work together. I met with Celia on Friday, okay? This board really wants to put this town forward. We're going to make the right steps, and we're going to get it right, and we're not going to visit this again. So, thank you while you're being the interim, and
My pleasure.
I don't know if anybody else has something
Just to
say.
put it in layman's terms, essentially, we spent money out of the general fund and we didn't go get it out of the long-term funding resource.
And listen,
And that is unacceptable to the board. It is critical that we follow the steps, and so we're starting to create more steps to affirm the fact that these things are going to happen. We're going to be, because we haven't been, providing the invoices to community banks so that they know what it is that we're drawing down, not just that we're drawing money down, but we're actually doing it with purpose. So it is critical that we establish process and procedure so that we can then execute these things and yield positive outcomes and results.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, a while ago, I made a tongue-in-cheek comment about single-entry accounting. We all know there isn't such a thing as single-entry accounting, okay? But writing something out of the general fund without having a corollary accounting fund associated with it is something that we unfortunately have been doing, and I'm glad we're starting to make progress and recognize that we have to change that. And we actually have to treat all these projects, okay, with proper P&Ls and proper balance sheets so we can track the funds and how they move through the system.
Well, it really shouldn't be us.
Well, no, I'm talking, we.
But now we are, the
The global
town.
we is the town.
The town.
The global we is the town, okay. Yeah,
So-
I agree with you, it's the financial director and the treasurer, okay, should be able, that's some of the work that they should be providing to us so that we can see that it's being done properly.
Okay, Vito, you have anything?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, so I know there was an article that came out today in some paper or whatever. The water line is not in trouble. The town is not in trouble, okay? The town, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, is going to have all these loan issues fixed. They will all be fixed, and moving forward, will be going forward the correct and proper way, I hope, no matter who is on the board, okay? Because I'm not coming back and asking for another extension on millions of dollars worth of loans that aren't mine, okay? This is crazy. Rob gets into the FEMA. You mentioned the $1,050,000, but then you mentioned, this is what they found so far in a week. I believe there's somewhere between $3 to $4 million of unrecouped funds on the East Mountain Road project, okay?
I really hope there are.
And, because there has to be. And one of the things we were also told, Rob, on that call with Charlie.
Yes.
And with Joshua, that's working for us, is that Charlie was like, Josh said, out of all the money we spent up there, we were getting 90% from the feds of what we did right.
Yep.
But we should have been filing with the state for 7.25%, and we received none of that, and we didn't do any of it. Now, I am not putting any blame on any person working for the town. What should have happened here should have been hiring on this firm or an individual like we did back in Irene. And the weird thing here is that it would have freed up people's times to do other things such as the TIF or anything else. Because there's a category Z, as in zebra, at the end of the project that says you're allowed to collect 5% of the total project for hiring on an outside firm or any workers that are working on this. So I would like, if we ever have another flood, hopefully not, that we automatically put something, maybe it's a policy bill, John and Vito, that if there is a flood, that we take advantage of Category Z and bring out, so any future select board members can sit there and say, wait a second, when we have this, there's a policy, okay, that this is what we do. So I believe, and I got my fingers crossed, somewhere between 3 and 4 million. I've been going through my emails, because like on my phone, I have my text going back to 2023 when I got the town phone, and I have my emails there, okay? Abby, I found a document last night that the project is around, she estimated, just over $7 million for that whole job up there. Okay, $7 million. I think we're down to our last 3 or 4 projects of maybe 2 million total. So there's probably 5 million out there, and I think we only got $1.7 million to $2 million. So this town is in great shape. It's just that we have to tidy up our room a little bit, okay? And if people panic, you put out fear. You put fear out to your bankers. You put fear out to your partners. And there was no need for the community or anyone to be putting fear. We just needed basic rules, procedures, internal controls for financing. This time it's gonna happen, guys. And ladies, okay? So I'm good with that for manager's report.
Thank you.
So we've got, the next thing up here is confirm RRPC appointment recommendations from the Planning Commission. And it is Donald Gaunt, who is on the Planning Commission. So this is someone that we would want on here. So can I get a motion for Donald Gaunt to be appointed as the RRPC Planning Commission representative, Rutland Regional Planning Commission?
So moved.
Second.
There's no conversation here. He put his name up. Let's give it to him.
Let him do it.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We already did listers, errors, and omissions. Community bank
I think we
relationship, we got that. Town auditor update. In these conversations that we've been having with the bank, and then with VEPSI, with the letter that we received back from
Which I plan
VEPSI.
I plan to read an update to the.
Okay, so I'm going to start first, and then you can take from there. I just want to say that in that conversation with John, myself, Rob, and I believe Stephanie Clark, and our, well, I don't know if we can call our auditor, because for some reason, he was let go with nobody else taken on, so we're getting ready to sign a contract back to the auditor that's been all the institutional knowledge while we're going through this, to come back and work with us, and I'm glad they are willing to. But
Which is, I'm just going to add,
Go.
is critical because these municipal auditing firms are at a high premium in terms of accessibility, not just the cost is what the cost is, but as far as accessibility, they literally have a list of people waiting to be serviced by these particular accounting firms. So the fact that we let them go without having a plan in place is seriously dangerous, but the fact that they are willing to come back and continue the relationship is paramount.
So, and the VEPSI report, it's public, and if you look at it, you might say, why did we send a question to their question? Do you want to hit on that, John?
Well, so what I actually was going to hit on, so yeah, I mean, there was definitely this VEPSI letter came back with a lot of interesting questions, and it required that the town have a response back to VEPSI for last Friday. We did our best. We got great results between Sam at R.H. Smith, I believe Samantha, but Sam, she goes by, with Miss Stephanie Clark. Lisa Davis-Lewis had jumped in, Rob, myself, Jim, and so we supplied a letter in response back to VEPSI, and it is not overly lengthy, so I will take a quick minute.
But can I just stop you for a
Yep.
second? I met the one time with you, Rob, myself,
Yes,
and with the auditors.
yes.
Okay? At that point there, since some of this stuff, maybe it's financial, whatever, I removed myself from any further for them to find the report and put it together. But we do need John, myself, and Rob to go to a hearing on August 31st up in Montpelier to VEPSI. I will attend that as the chair with these two, but I am not pulling up any documents on any financial stuff, because I feel that would be a conflict, knowing that my wife may have done some work there, okay?
However,
I know how to step away when I need to.
however, your institutional knowledge of the TIF structure is critical, and we do need to have your inclusion in the conversations to help provide historical knowledge and reference and information that someone like myself, just doesn't have complete,
But I am not a fact finder.
history. No, you are not in this case. We get the glory of doing the digging.
Thank you.
So if you'll give me one quick minute, I will read this. It is not as long, I promise, as the last time I had to orate, so I apologize. But I think it's important because this VEPC thing had been occurring prior to the most recent revelation, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess it was. The board was never informed. The public was never informed. When this board received the information, we intentionally brought it forward to the public. Rob read it, and people have inquired, and we have freely supplied it. Because why? Because we actually are a transparent bunch. So here is our response back to that was required for August 7th, 2026, in reference to the Killington TIF response to the VEPC July 24, 2026 issue resolution letter, noncompliance enforcement proceeding. Dear Ms. Hartleben and members of the Vermont Economic Progress Council, thank you for your July 24th, 2026 correspondence regarding the Town of Killington's tax increment financing district and the accompanying monitoring report. The town appreciates VEPC's detailed review and recognizes the importance of ensuring that the TIF district is administered in full compliance with statute, rule, and VEPC guidance. The town takes the issues identified during the fiscal year 2025 monitoring review very seriously. We acknowledge that significant turnover in key financial and administrative positions over the past several years have contributed to inconsistencies in financial reporting, coding practices, record keeping, and institutional knowledge. While these circumstances do not excuse the deficiencies identified by VEPC, they do provide important context for the issues currently being addressed. We apologize for the strain this is putting on VEPC in overseeing our TIF district. The town is actively undertaking a comprehensive effort to reconcile historical records, verify financial transactions, and establish permanent administrative procedures that will provide accurate and transparent accounting on all TIF-related activities. That said, we have been working diligently to source supporting documents and records over the past 2 weeks and would very much appreciate an extended time frame to address the issues you have brought forth. Attached, please find our corrective action plan and a matrix itemizing the issues. Where information can be confirmed, the town has provided responses and supporting documentation, admittedly only one item to date, where the records are still being reconciled. The town has identified the work that must be done and is committed to providing corrected information as it becomes available. To give a little more detail to the notes in the action plan, the town is reconstructing the administrative architecture of the team by outsourcing some support. The town is in the final stages of negotiating a contract, which I will add has since been signed, for a forensic accounting review. Once engaged, the firm will review historical accounting records, reconcile question transactions, identify any necessary corrections, and establish an accurate financial baseline for future reporting. The town anticipates this work commencing shortly and will keep VEPC informed regarding its progress and any findings relevant to the administration of the TIF district. In addition, the town issued an RFP to retain professional TIF administrative and accounting services this summer. Unfortunately, the proposals received reflected a broader scope of work than the town requires and exceeded the intended level of service. The town is currently evaluating an alternative approach that would combine TIF administration with the accounting expertise of the forensic accounting firm being retained. The town hopes this integrated approach would provide greater continuity, improve financial controls, reduce duplication of effort, and establish a single point of accountability for ongoing TIF administration and reporting. The existing town team, internal staff, with consulting and auditing support, is attempting to reconcile the issues identified in your letter and fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25 annual monitoring forms. The intent is to provide an update on those findings before the August 31st meeting and present on progress at the meeting itself. That said, we acknowledge that some of this may extend beyond the capabilities of the existing team, and a list of issues will need to be handed to the administration firm upon onboarding. We will keep VEPC apprised of the status regularly. Where corrections are warranted and actionable with the existing team, the town will submit corrected reports, and supporting documentation. The town is fully committed to working to resolve each outstanding item identified in the monitoring report. We appreciate VEPSI's patience as this work proceeds and welcome continued communication throughout the process. Thank you for your continued guidance and partnership. This letter was submitted on Friday, and let's see, the response from the team up at VEPSI was that they received our letter, they thanked us, and they look forward to receiving updates and hearing from all of us at the full VEPSI council meeting on August 31st. I'm done reading.
So,
Good job.
my last meeting that I had with you, Rob, and Ron,
Yes,
okay, or maybe it was you.
Ron Smith.
Ron Smith, he
RH.
basically said they will have no issue of getting all these answers too. They worked on it and gave questions back to the town, but for some reason, their questions were copied and pasted as an answer back to VEPSI. And what he basically, what did Ron say if he would have received that?
I don't remember the exact words, but I'll sort of paraphrase, like, what planet are we on?
No, he said, I would have written the same letter back.
I mean, the VEPSI.
I would have read the same thing. You answered a question with a question from your auditors. Okay? So we are moving forward. We are going to get down to the bottom of this. There is money there. We're going to find every penny. Okay? And if some feel, interim town manager, that maybe the board this time around on you, maybe a little micromanaging, we're not. We're here to help you.
No, I don't
when
feel-
you need asking questions from us, we will, just like we have with any other town manager in the past. So that being said, I don't know if anybody has any, I'll go around the room if anybody has any questions.
George, can you make sure you speak up so that the people online can hear you?
You don't have to, I'll get there. So what you're saying with the auditor, the state auditor,
No, this is the town.
So our municipal auditing service that comes
yes,
in.
but when I was here at meetings, I asked when that guy was coming in, and I was told by the manager, this date, that date, he wasn't working for us anymore, is what you're saying, correct?
Correct.
So
We're
why
gonna
would
leave-
I be
well,
told
but-
that?
No, we're going to leave that alone, George.
We'll
We're
leave
not
that alone.
answering that.
Okay.
You can come back at us and tell us we're not answering your question, but we're not
That's
answering that
fine, but
question.
that's my feeling on the subject of what you were just talking about, because I was told multiple times that he was gonna come to a meeting, because I had a lot of questions for him.
All I know, Rob and I heard is that we are no longer employed by the town of Killington. When, I don't know.
Okay.
And they have supplied us, one other
We get an
lady
answer to
from,
that?
one other lady sent us, Adrian or something, I think, sent us a contract.
Yes.
Which is under $40,000 for a sole source purchase.
Yes.
You have to go, just so we do this right.
They were formally-
Can I get a motion to allow Rob to sign the contract with RH Smith for our 2026 engagement letter contract to start our 2026 audit?
So moved.
I get a second.
Second,
Are there any questions? We need an auditor, guys,
we need one.
okay? If anyone wants to come in, if anyone wants to come in and say, yeah, but if anyone wants to come in and say, it's over $25,000, it also says up to $40,000 underneath a sole source, and you try finding an auditing firm that wants to take on a town at this point. We put out, there is a bid, an RFP online that nobody's responded to by June 12th because never brought to us, so Ron Smith is RH Smith is the sole. So all in favor, say aye.
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 So just say his name and then go from there.
Want me to move in front of the camera, or it's fine? Yeah. Ian Curry, 7 Days, just one question. I guess, what strategies moving forward does the town plan to explore for financial management? I know you mentioned you were interviewed a potential interim or contractor to serve as like a finance manager, maybe on an interim basis. Is that one sort of pathway the town's exploring, or?
I think that's what the town manager
Yeah,
answered.
absolutely.
And is there, I know there was talk in the letter to Vepsi that, about integrating auditing and TIF accounting services. Is that the RH Smith?
Say that again?
There was just talk in the letter to Vepsi saying, you know, the town's exploring an approach that would integrate auditing with the TIF accounting.
That is RH.
That's RH Smith, and that's been confirmed?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So RH Smith is doing the TIF accounting now?
No,
No, no, let me-
no, we don't have anyone doing, at this time. RH Smith is our auditing firm.
I think he's,
And they are going to do the 2026 audit, and they are also helping to answer the questions from Vepsi.
Got it.
They are not, we can't have the same auditing firm that audits our books do our books.
Got it. Okay, and is there?
It's a thing called a conflict.
Yeah, so is.
can I add to that? If I could add to that, so one of the thought processes is that as we have a forensic audit going on and we are yielding more data and constantly building more data in a profile of where we've been so we can decide where we're going, there's a thought that we may be able to help, that firm may be able to help expedite us moving forward with these different functions of external accounting, non-traditional municipal accounting.
Got it. So I mean, moving forward then, do you see the TIF accounting being handled by an external firm, like a contractor, or would that be more of a town hall position, either on a contract or interim basis?
I think Rob here answered that question in his manager's report.
Yeah.
That we're still looking at how to either a hybrid
Yep.
or in-house.
Got it, okay.
Okay.
So it's
That was the
not
answer.
totally clear yet, but both are being explored.
Absolutely.
That's what the
'cause
town manager, interim town manager said.
It's critically important.
Got it, all right, thank you.
Okay. So Patrick Cushing has his hand up, but I noticed he put in saying, when I had stated we did not receive any answers back from the RFP that was due on June 12th, Mr. Cushing wrote, we did get responses. I don't know why it wasn't brought to us, but Patrick, you have your hand up.
Well,
Yep, unrelated question. Can we ask generally about finances, or are you just doing this?
We just did this.
Okay, then I can wait till the comment, because mine's a larger finance question about the town manager report numbers.
Yeah, well, you can send them to your attorney to talk to our attorney. Rob is not going, you could say whatever you want as a citizen, but I don't know. Your attorney asked us as a town not to speak to you on any answers on anything, that we are to give to him any questions or any information.
presumably, he would have said the same to you because that would be a typical legal action. But
And we then said back that our attorney will talk to your attorney. Well,
I'll ask my question to you, and you don't have to answer it.
Thank you,
That's okay.
thank you.
The question is, with the numbers that you, Rob, with the numbers that you stated, rather large, are we at all using?
Is this a finance question? Is this a finance question, or is this to the auditor update?
Finance question, that's what I was asking.
Well, we're on auditor update.
Okay, yep, I'll ask you the comments then.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else online have something on the town auditor update? Not hearing any. The Berry Dunn forensic audit status, you already answered that,
You've
Rob.
answered that, yes.
The TRSC, WSP, FEMA filing for reimbursement,
I think I answered.
you already answered that. Citizens' comments and concerns in the audience? State your name. I'm going to go from there in the back, and then I work around. Go ahead.
George Brett. One, I would say, Jim, I've known you for a long time. You've put so much effort into this town. Just to have someone pull that on you is garbage. And it's not $5,000, because I just heard the reports of the two lawyers you're talking with there. When she talked to them, how much more money is involved with this than $5,000? Because I'll guarantee at the end we'll be at $10,000 or $15,000, because those reports aren't free, those lawyers are doing. and you got two sets. Understand, you got one guy, the person that was supposed to do that was asking our lawyer, who's charging us. So that's more waste of money, time, effort, and you guys are doing a great job. If we weren't digging into stupid things like this, I think we would be so much farther ahead.
We can't answer, we don't have all our bills back yet for July from our attorneys. Mark?
Mark Dingus, yeah, I want to reiterate what George just said. I found it disgusting and disheartening what those two town residents did to you, Jim. I mean, false charges like this, who's going to come up and run for the board if they had this hanging over their heads? And I really wish this select board could go after them for reimbursement for the attorney fees from the town. It's just so unfair. Everything about these charges were false. They attack you all constantly on social media. Nonsense. They provide no input to make anything in the town of Killington better, the two of them. I never hear anything positive from them.
Well, luckily, I don't really go on social media much, so.
Well, I do, and I see it, and it's disheartening, because I know how hard you all are trying to turn this around.
And it's a team.
It is a team effort, and you can see it here tonight, without a doubt.
No doubt.
And for those two to constantly just berate you, never have anything nice to say is ridiculous, and I really wish this could never happen again to another select board member.
Thanks for wishing.
Here, here.
Go ahead, Jan, and then,
Just a quick, the $3.5 million that we're borrowing, is that like a tax anticipation note?
it's called current expense / tax. They wrote it down on the term sheet.
Because we.
Tax
didn't collect
anticipation,
any.
current expense, right, to get us to the November.
And I'm still
But
confused
anyway.
about this other money that we should have known that we had it? Like, where did
No,
that
no,
go?
should know, we should have filed correctly for paperwork. So it's for
Whose job
reimbursement.
is that?
We're not gonna get into that right now.
I mean, it's a town job?
We're not gonna, it's in the town. It's in the town. Okay?
We lose millions of dollars.
We didn't lose, we just didn't
Yeah.
file correctly. We're gonna leave it at that, okay? Go ahead.
My comment is just a general.
And Celia Clancy.
Celia Clancy. My comment is a general comment to Rob and to all of you guys, but just gigantic progress. Gigantic progress on the finances and
Thank
where
you.
we are.
Thank you.
So thank you.
So,
Really
Debbie,
exciting.
Debbie LeBron, you have your hand raised?
I do. First, I'd like to thank the select board for the job they do. But what I'd like to throw out there is that the select board consider a new chairman. I think Mr. Hess is knowledgeable. I appreciate all the work he's done. But I think the perception in the town, I think we need to have a new leadership in that role. There's been a lot of negativity. I've been in many Zoom calls where I've observed inappropriate behavior, and I think we just need somebody else to lead.
Thank you for your comment. Patrick?
Sure, thank you. Rob, you read out a lot of large numbers in the paying back of the bonds. I know last time we had a financial update, we had like 4 point something in the bank. And then I know we had drawdowns from the SUR and other items. Are we at risk of utilizing the town education finances that we've started we started collecting as operational costs? With the numbers you're looking at, like, I don't know where more money would have came in besides that, or have we separated that out?
Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe that's been done for the last year. But why don't you ask your lawyer to ask that question to our lawyer?
Okay, so asking as a citizen, you said it is happening? Like-
No, I didn't say that. I said you ask
Oh, sorry.
your lawyer to ask our lawyer.
What I said was, you said you didn't understand, and I said that's maybe the problem.
Oh, okay. Thank you, John.
Anybody else from the Zoom? Select board member comments and concerns. Vito? John?
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand why we are where we are as a community. We have so much good stuff going on, and for people to get into these like ridiculous and petty places about like bizarre minutia and then try to project them as issues that exist here at the select board, when more often than not, they're not things that we can control directly because it's outside of our roles and responsibilities. So the first day I took my seat here on the select board, I read the roles and responsibilities so that we could get a better understanding of the relationship between the two different bodies of our government. And it just amazes me that like people struggle with the concept of it. And then, you know, like the negativity, you know, I come back to this article in Vermont Public, and please don't be offended when I read this, but, you know, Celia's comment, things are not good in Killington, the town is not in good shape. I mean, how is that a productive statement as it relates to the town, our direction, our intentions, and how we're going to get there? I think my hope, and I'm going to end here, my hope is that when reporters start reporting on our town and our business, they don't start in the middle of statements, they don't parse words or parse statements like Investigator Jonas did when she referenced certain laws and statutes. I hope that they take the time to go back and look at the totality of the circumstance and the totality of the situation and provide accurate reporting. I don't care how they choose to report the facts, but I really encourage all the reporters involved to take a total picture, remove biases, and supply all the information and all the facts, because the town of Killington deserves better than what some people are doing and some people are saying and how some reporters are reporting on it. That's all I've got to say.
Bill, do you have anything to comment?
Well, I think.
And first of all, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm happy I am back, actually.
We're happy you never left.
Yeah. Okay. And I think just to answer John, I think we got to go back several years. And we have to admit, and I think we are admitting, that the town made some mistakes. Okay? And those mistakes actually were raising their head in financial reports and treasurer's reports, to the point where members of the community started to request for a forensic audit. Okay, so I mean, I think you just got to, we made mistakes, okay, we're now attacking those, and we got to work through them. And I think, you know, the select board's responsibility over the last few years is when we get a financial report and when we get a treasurer's report and we see irregularities in it, it is our responsibility to call those into question. And, you know, maybe the select boards in general, I mean, you go back years, okay, and maybe they all should have done a better job. I mean, you got to understand, the town is in this transition from a budget, let's say, between $4 and $8 million for the last forever, okay, and now all of a sudden we have $110 million.
Well, we got 45. We're not at 100 million.
Well, whatever. Okay, but when you add in the Killington Forward and all that other stuff, it's going to be quite a large number. Okay, and the town is not used to accounting for those large numbers.
The system is not set up.
The system's not set up for that.
Right.
So, and that has created doubt in the citizenry, and I think we just got to admit that, and we got to continue on the path that's being done to get that problem solved.
And I would agree with that. I feel that at some point, people became hyper-focused on politics. I'll use the word ideology, although it's clearly not like but they became focused on other than business. And we are here for business. I don't care who likes me or who dislikes me. I'm here for results. That's all I'm here for. And, you know, I was called a racist last week because I'm just saying that, like, this is what I'm talking about, because I was referring to my own self-deprecating way because I'm a second-generation Polish American. I don't need to be called a racist for something like that. It's ridiculous. And that's where we're at. That's where people are, and that's what they're focused on. I'm not there. I'm focused on results, I'm focused on Killington, and I'm focused on the next 10 years of where we're going.
And I hope, as we get more results, that the population understands that and they start to have more appreciation for the work that's done at the town level.
Yep, I agree. And every week, we are yielding massive results right now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
So I'm going to end off with me here. Number one, I'm sure that, and I've said this to you, Bill, like, I think in the beginning, a year and a half ago, I used this thing, drinking the Kool-Aid. There was a lot of rumors and noise out there and everything, and I said, I believe the straw has been removed from your mouth, and we're moving, and we're working together as a 5-member board. Great, moving forward. Why I'm saying this is that I don't think really, I'm sorry, John, but maybe the comments from that news article was weeks ago. I had a conversation with Celia on Friday. I think the straw has been taken away from her mouth also. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. Now I'm going to move on to 2 other things here. Solar panels. George, solar panels. Solar panels.
Oh, God, no.
I believe the Mountain Times put in for public information of signed warrants for solar panels. Chris Carr, Steve Finneran, and myself on, March 21st, 2022, there was a check drawn. So probably within a week to 2 weeks after that, the board signed it for solar canopy projects. What throws me off here is that it seems to be there's 3 projects on this thing here. Now I know there's only 2, but these things were already put up when the bill came in. March 21st, 2022. May 25th, 2022. For those that want to say that I was the chair, I'm sorry, Mr. Finneran, you were the chair. I am so sorry that you still have to get dragged into these things. That, number 7 in that meeting, Mr. Finneran, current expense note, solar panels. Town Manager Hagenbert spoke on the current expense note for the solar canopies. Originally, it was considered by him as an equipment purchase, but it is different from other highway-related equipment purchases. It will need to be decided by the voters. The town would like to take out a 1-year current expense note of $204,271 at a rate of 2.5% until it can be put on the ballot. The Select Board discussed the financing and logistics of funding the solar canopies while waiting the town residents' decision. Select Board, not chair, half, made a motion to approve the current expense note for the solar panels. It was unanimously approved. That was May of 2022. I think we've been talking about these solar panels for 3 or 4 years of the board asking and citizens asking for how they were paid. And from management, not you, we received, and not Patrick, I don't think, we received many different answers.
Yes.
So let me read once again, one last part here. The town would take out a 1-year current expense note of $204,271 at a rate of 2.5% until it can be put on the ballot. We finally got through all of the, it was paid for, it was paid for, it was paid for, the finally following what Chris Carr, Steve Finneran, and myself as board members were asking management to do. Okay? So that's number 1. If anyone wants to go around, I wasn't the chair. I've really only been the chair since March to June of 2025, when it was Patrick, myself, and Ricky. I was not the chair prior to that. My good friend Steve Finneran was the chair for all of the time that he was here. And then when he passed, well, not passed, when he could no longer stay on the board did not have a chair. It was whoever was there, we just ran the meeting together. So March to June, until we became a 5-member board, I was a chair. And then, from March of this year to July, August now, I am the chair. I understand citizens believe that they should have a vote on who the board is, but once again, it is the board's job to choose who they want to be the chair. So I'm done with the solar panels, okay? Next up, Don Martin put in, which it's unbelievable of how many, like what you talk about, these ridiculous, they're not ridiculous because they can do it, but some of them are on border that they're not even public information requests. They're just questions, and it goes on and on and on. But whatever, Mr. Martin put in, because Mr. Hickory got up last meeting or whatever and talked about a racist comment, okay, during the meeting. It threw me back. I had no idea what they were talking about. So anyway, dear Mr. Martin, thank you for your message regarding comments made during the recent town budget meeting. I appreciate your engagement during municipal affairs and want to address your concern directly. I was there and reviewed the exchange with the select board that you referenced. During a few minutes when the Zoom connection experienced technical difficulties, I know it was more than a few minutes, but a member of the public remarked that they could only see someone's nose on the screen. In response, our select board vice chair made a self-deprecating remark acknowledging the comment and attributing it to his Polish heritage, a source of personal and family pride. I want to be clear about important distinction. Self-deprecating humor, where someone affectionately pokes fun at themselves, is fundamentally different from derogatory or inflammatory remarks directed at others. The vice chair's comment was reflective and humble, not disparaging towards any individual or group. Our town is committed to treating all members of our community with respect and dignity. We also recognize that self-awareness and humor, when directed inward, can be healthy and human. It's my hope that we can all distinguish between these and that we can work together constructively to serve Killington well. If you still have further concerns, I encourage you to bring issues to us at the select board so we can address them openly and fairly. So, this is some of the stuff like you're getting at, like, we've got one person in the audience laughing his ass off behind a black person's head, making figures of a monkey, and that's racism. That's racial. But then when a person, I'm not Polish, but says that their big nose is part of their heritage, that's not racist, okay? This is how crazy this town is becoming.
Not the whole town.
Not the whole town. People in this town, okay? It's crazy. Imagine what we could have done if, when we went to a board of 5 back in 2025, and it wasn't, as one person in the community would say, it was 4 against 1. And it felt like it, guys. It felt like it. We are moving forward. Love yous all. There's no issue. It's a matter of fishing for dollars, and they're all there. Thank you. And again, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Yay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.